For more than 25 years, comedian Dave Chappelle has called the small village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, home. I recently traveled there to understand why he's invested millions of dollars into this community and why he believes the local public media station is crucial to the town's future. It's part of our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
Everybody who comes into town from this way, they get to see this new building.
Walk through Yellow Springs, Ohio with Dave Chappelle, and it's clear how much this small town means to one of the world's most famous comedians.
I think this was an unlikely pairing, but a powerful one.
Born and raised in the Washington, D.C. area, Chappelle first started coming here as a child. His father, the late William Chappelle, was a professor at Antioch College in Yellow Springs.
My parents split up when I was very young, and my dad relocated here. So I would spend parts of every year visiting him here. And then in say like 98, he fell really ill. And I would drive back and forth from New York to check on him, and then ended up buying a house here. You know, there's only like 3,800 people live in this town. It's a small town, but it is a real community. Everyone kind of knows everybody, and I like that.
Chappelle and his wife Elaine have raised their 3 kids here.
Is it hard or weird to be Dave Chappelle in a town of 3,800 people? I mean, you raised your kids here, right? Your family's here. This is your home.
I don't think it's any harder than, it's maybe easier in some ways.
Yeah?
People will tell me if my kids are messing up or anything.
They tell you that?
Oh yeah, I just saw your kid over there doing this and that. It's just a small town community, not too many surprises. So it's a good contrast for what the rest of my life is. And it keeps you humble. These people don't care about any of the stuff I do.
I've been very busy in Ohio, and a lot of people say, what are you doing out there?
What Chappelle has always done is tell jokes.
The town that I've been living in for the last 25 years, I bought most of it. I like it there.
Including in a 2025 Netflix special about how much property he now owns in Yellow Springs, where more than 80% of residents are white.
If I was white and the people in this town were black, you know what they'd say? They would say I was gentrifying the town. But there's no word for what I'm doing to these people.
How much of it do you own now?
I got a lot of property.
Chappelle says many of his purchases started during the pandemic as several businesses in town struggled to survive.
So I just bought the buildings. I waived people's rent for a couple of years so they get back on their feet. And the town moved on. But that's like, you know, behind the scenes. I don't really talk about that publicly, but that's why I did it. It's not like I want to be a land baron in Ohio or far from it, but it was, you know, expediency. It was just the right thing to do at the time.
I'm so glad you bought that space.
It's all part of a larger effort, one he says could help protect this town's future by preserving its past.
This is station WYSO, owned and operated by Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio.
In 1958, the local NPR station, WYSO, or WYSO, first went on the air from Antioch College. The station called the small liberal arts college home until 2018, after a string of financial troubles hit the school. Facing an uncertain future, WYSO was nearly forced to move out of Yellow Springs.
We didn't want to leave this place. Our name, WYSO, stands for Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Luke Dennis is WYSO's general manager. He says Chappelle offered a lifeline at a critical moment.
He listens to our station and heard that we might have to leave this community to find a new facility, and actually reached out to us and said, I'm thinking about buying the old Union Schoolhouse. Do you think it could be renovated to suit your needs? And then we could enter into a lease agreement.
Chappelle spent about $15 million to save this 1870s schoolhouse, one of the first integrated schools in the region, and renovate it for WYSO's needs.
In those summers you spent here with your dad and the time you spent here, did you listen to WYSO?
All my life.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big part of the local life here.
Last week, after more than 4 years of construction, offices for his production company upstairs, a separate entrance and wing for WYSO downstairs, Chappelle and local leaders welcomed them to their new home.
It's hard to think of what's comparable in another community like WYSO is for us. But, you know, that's our New York Knicks or our Golden State Warriors. That's our team, you know what I mean? That's Yeah, we're very proud of them.
Midday music on WYSO. And
There are state-of-the-art studios, beautifully redesigned spaces, and nods to the station's long history.
What does WISO mean to this community?
It means local, local, local. And the way that we've come back to life, back to health and stability, has been to just invest really big in our local service.
That includes 9 local reporters covering 14 counties in Southwest Ohio, reaching about 65,000 listeners.
Arming people with information, I think, is what allows people to be more civically engaged.
Ohio born and raised, Adriana Martinez Smiley covers the environment and indigenous affairs.
To be able to contribute to this community in that way as a journalist, which I view as being a public service, is something that I was very excited to take on.
And this is 91.3 WYSO News.
Jerry Kenny's been with the station since 1991, from local volunteer to local host of All Things Considered.
When I first started listening to this radio station, there were so many programs and voices that I had not heard before. Programs like This Way Out, which was a gay and lesbian news magazine, Wings, the Women's International News Gathering Service. It became a really special experience for me to tune in.
But this unlikely pairing, as Chappelle puts it, raises some questions.
Was there any hesitation or second thought about, a major celebrity basically stepping in to back you right now? What is that relationship? Is it a benefactor? Is it a landlord?
I'm glad you asked. There was a lot of hesitation because our independence is our most important asset, and we've spent 68 years earning it, and you could destroy it in a moment, right? We are utterly independent from Dave Chappelle.
I ain't doing trans jokes no more. You know what I'm gonna do tonight? Tonight, I'm doing your own handicap jokes. Well, they're not as organized as the gays.
That independence could include reporting on Chappelle himself, no stranger to generating headlines. From jokes about the transgender community to his decision to perform at a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia last year.
You told an audience in Saudi Arabia last year it's easier to talk there than it is in the U.S. right now. Is that true? You feel that?
It was for me that night.
Why do you say that?
Because the king said I could say whatever I want. And I know I got a lot of criticism.
You did. Did that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise, but they're mad about anything. Where is this clean money that everyone's speaking of? There's actual slave owners on my local currency. So I don't know whose money is clean or dirty. It's like I go there with good intentions. I do what I do, and they pay me well for it. That's the extent of it. And if they could have seen that crowd screaming like I was doing magic tricks just for jokes, it's like watching a baby taste sugar. How satisfying is it if you can't say everything you want to say, and then you see a guy just saying anything? Man, that's inspiring. That's empowering. Yo, they need to know that that's like the last great thing we got in America, and they're threatening that.
Recently in the news, I've been getting a lot of grief again.
Did you have to have conversations about that, or what that looked like, how they maintain their editorial independence?
I don't know that we ever really discussed that.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm just the landlord. It's a church and state type thing. I don't want to tell them how to do anything that they do.
So if you, for example, say something that generates headlines, they can cover that the same way any other journalist would?
Well, I hope they'd be a little nicer than most other journalists would be, but I also know I'm realistic. I can't control that. The more you empower institutions like PBS or like NPR, the more they can be ours of and for the people. I think now more than ever it's been proven that that's necessary. There has to be some baseline of truth, and good journalism is a godsend in a time like this. So I support it.
This is very exciting.
This 19th century schoolhouse has now assumed its new role in Yellow Springs, with an eye to the next generation in this corner of Ohio.
It's not always easy, but with a good family and with good friends and good community, I really do feel like the whole world is less daunting and less scary. And I only know what's going on because I listen to you guys in the morning. So keep it positive, would you?
And you can see more of our conversation with Dave Chappelle on the next episode of our podcast, Settle In. You can find that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.
I was just about to close my laptop. I swear I was. The screen was dimming, my hand was on the mouse, and I had already said goodnight to the room. But then my eye caught the title again. Different video this time. Same man, same subject. Dave Chappelle on why he loves the town he lives in. And something told me to click. Not because I expected anything new, but because I knew, deep down, that Dave Chappelle doesn't say the same thing twice, even when he's talking about the same thing. So I pressed play. And now here I am, an hour later, because this man has done it to me again. He's made me think. He's made me feel. He's made me want to pack a bag and move to Ohio. So let me tell you about this one. Let me walk you through it. Because it's different from the others. This time, he's not on a porch. He's not in a studio. He's walking. Just walking down a street. You can hear his footsteps on the pavement. You can hear birds. You can hear a dog barking somewhere in the distance. He's holding his phone, I think, filming himself. And he's just talking, like he's thinking out loud, like he forgot anyone might ever see this. He starts by saying, "You know what I love about this town? Nobody's trying to sell me nothing." And he laughs, that slow, easy laugh. He says, "I mean it. Nobody's got an angle. Nobody's got a pitch. Nobody's trying to get something from me. They just are." And I realized as he said that, how rare that is. How everywhere you go, someone wants something. Your time, your money, your attention, your approval, your signature on a contract, your face on a poster, your name in a headline. It never stops. The world is full of people with their hands out. But not in his town. Not on this street. Not in this place. He keeps walking. A regular house. White with blue shutters. A porch with a swing. Some flowers in the window box. He says, "That's where Miss Hattie used to live. She passed a few years back. But when I first moved here, she was the first person to bring me a pie. A pie. Just because. I didn't ask for it. She didn't want nothing. She just said, 'New neighbor, welcome.' And she walked back home." He pauses, looks at the house, and you can see it on his face. The memory is still warm, still alive. He says, "That's not something that happens in L.A. Nobody brings you a pie in L.A. They bring you a lawsuit, or a proposal, or an invitation to something you don't want to go to. But a pie? Just because? No." He starts walking again. He turns a corner. Now he's on a different street. Trees lining both sides. Kids playing in a yard. He waves at them. They wave back. Nobody runs over. Nobody screams. Just a wave. That's all. He says, "I love that the kids here don't care who I am. I mean, they know. Their parents told them. But they don't care. To them, I'm just the guy who lives down the street. The guy who gives out full-size candy bars on Halloween. That's my whole identity to them. And I love that. I love being the full-size candy bar guy. Not Dave Chappelle. Just the guy with the good candy." He laughs again. And I find myself laughing too. Because there's something so pure about that. So simple. To want to be known for something small. Something kind. Something that has nothing to do with fame. He keeps talking as he walks. He says, "People ask me all the time, 'Don't you get bored? Don't you miss the excitement? Don't you miss the city?' And I tell them, excitement is overrated. Peace is underrated. You can keep your excitement. I'll take my peace." He stops at a corner. There's a bench. He sits down, puts the phone on something so it's propped up. And now he's just looking at the camera, talking straight into it, like he's talking to me, to you, to all of us. He says, "Let me tell you something. When I was in the middle of all that fame, all that money, all that attention, I was miserable. I mean really miserable. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't trust anyone. I couldn't go anywhere without someone wanting a piece of me. And I thought, is this it? Is this what I worked for? Is this what success feels like? because it felt like failure to me. It felt like drowning. He takes a breath, looks down at his hands, looks back up. He says, "So I left, and everybody thought I was crazy. They said I was throwing it all away. They said I'd regret it. They said I'd be back. And you know what? I never regretted it. Not once, not for a single second. Because the moment I got back here, the moment I walked down this street, the moment Miss Hattie brought me that pie, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like myself, like the real me. Not the character, not the brand, not the product, just me." He looks around, at the trees, at the houses, at the sky. He says, "This town saved my life. I mean it. If I had stayed in LA, I don't know what would have happened to me, but it wouldn't have been good. I would have lost myself completely. I would have become the mask, and I don't think I would have found my way back." He's quiet for a moment, just sitting there, and the silence isn't awkward. It's heavy. It's full. It's the kind of silence that comes after someone tells you the truth, the real truth. He starts talking again, softer. He says, "You know what else I love about this town? The library. The public library. It's small, it's old. The carpet is from the 70s, I think. But it's full of books. And the librarian, her name is Mrs. Gable, she knows every book in that place. You walk in and say, 'I'm looking for something about this or that,' and she walks right to the shelf and pulls it down. No computer, no search engine. Just her brain. Just her memory. Just her love of books." He smiles. A real smile. Not a performance smile. He says, "I take my kids there all the time, and Mrs. Gable doesn't treat them any different than she treats anyone else. She doesn't say, 'Oh, you're Dave Chappelle's kids.' She says, 'You're late returning that book. There's a fine.' And my kids love it. They love being held accountable. They love being treated like regular people, 'cause that's what they are. Regular people, and I want them to stay that way." He gets up from the bench, starts walking again. He's going somewhere. You can tell. He has a destination in mind. He says, "I'm going to show you something. Come on." He walks for a minute, maybe two, turns another corner, and then he stops in front of a small building. It's a church, a small one, white with a steeple, a sign out front with the times of services. He says, "This is my church. I'm not a regular churchgoer. I'm not going to pretend I am. But I come here sometimes, especially when things are hard. And I sit in the back, and I just listen. I don't talk to anyone. I don't ask for anything. I just sit. And it helps. It helps because this is where people from this town come to be honest, to admit they're struggling. And there's something about being in a room full of people who are being honest that makes you want to be honest too." He looks at the church, nods, like he's saying hello to an old friend. He says, "You don't get that in a megachurch. You don't get that in a stadium with a light show and a band and a pastor who's selling books. You get that here, in a small room with wooden pews and a piano that's out of tune, and people who know your name and your problems and love you anyway." He starts walking again, heading back the way he came. He says, "I'm not trying to romanticize small-town life. It's not perfect. There's gossip. There's small-mindedness sometimes. There's people who never leave and never grow. I'm not blind to that. Every place has its problems. But the difference here is that the problems are human-sized. They're not the problems of empires and corporations and global fame. They're the problems of people who live down the street from each other and have to figure out how to get along. And I can handle that. I can handle that because it's real. It's not fake. It's not manufactured. It's just life." He's back on the main street now, the one with the diner. He points at it. He says, "That diner. I told you about it before. But let me tell you something else. The owner, his name is Frank. Frank has been running that diner for 40 years. 40 years. He opens at 6 in the morning and closes at 2 in the afternoon. That's it. He doesn't do dinner. He doesn't do delivery. He doesn't do any of that. He just does breakfast and lunch. And he's been doing it the same way for 40 years. The same recipes, the same tables, the same coffee. And people love it because it doesn't change. Because when everything else in the world is spinning and shifting and falling apart, Frank's diner is still there. Still serving the same eggs, still pouring the same coffee, still saying the usual. He stops, looks at the diner, and you can see it, the affection, the gratitude, the love. He says, "That's what I want. To be like Frank's Diner, to be steady, to be reliable, to be the same person every day, no matter what's happening in the world. To be a place where people can come and know what they're going to get. Not a performance, not a show, just me, just the usual." He starts walking again. The video is getting close to the end. You can feel it. He's winding down. He's saying everything he needs to say. He says, "I don't know why I'm making this video. I don't know who's gonna watch it. I don't really care. I'm making it for myself, I guess. To remind myself why I'm here, why I stay, why I chose this. Because some days I forget. Some days I wonder what if. Some days I miss the lights and the applause. But then I walk down this street, and I see Miss Hattie's house, and I wave at the kids, and I walk past the library and the church and the diner, and I remember that this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is my place." He stops walking. He's back where he started, at the beginning of the street. He turns to face the camera. He looks tired but peaceful. He says, "So that's why I love this town. That's why I'll never leave. That's why I'll die here probably, in this town, on this street, in this house. And when I do, I hope someone brings my family a pie. Just because, just to say welcome to the neighborhood, even though we've been here the whole time." He smiles, reaches out, and the video ends. And I'm just sitting here, in my apartment, in my city, with my cold tea and my tired eyes. And I'm thinking about what he said. About being steady. About being the usual. About being a place where people can come and know what they're going to get. I don't have that. I don't have a Frank's Diner. I don't have a Miss Hattie. I don't have a Mrs. Gable at a library with carpet from the 70s. But maybe I could. Maybe I could be that for someone. Maybe I could be the steady one. The reliable one. The one who doesn't change with the wind. Maybe that's what Dave Chappelle was trying to tell me. Not that I need to move to Ohio, but that I need to find my own version of it. My own porch. My own bench. My own church with an out-of-tune piano. My own street where people wave and nobody wants anything. That's the video. That's the commentary. That's what I've been sitting with for the past however long. And now I think I'll close my laptop. For real this time. And maybe tomorrow, I'll start looking for my own small town. Not on a map, but in my heart. In my habits. In the way I show up for the people around me. Because if Dave Chappelle can find peace in a place with one traffic light and a diner that closes at 2, then maybe I can find it too. Maybe we all can. Good night. I was just about to turn off the lights. I really was. The house was quiet, everyone else was asleep, and I had already brushed my teeth and everything. But then I saw it. Another video. Same title, same man. Dave Chappelle on why he loves the town he lives in. And I thought, well, one more won't hurt. Just a few minutes. But I should know by now that a few minutes with Dave Chappelle is never just a few minutes. Because he gets in your head. He gets in your chest. He makes you sit with things. So here I am again. Lights still on. Tea cold again. And I have to talk about it. This video is different from the others. This time, he's not on a porch. He's not walking down a street. He's sitting in a car. Just sitting in the driver's seat, parked somewhere. You can see trees through the windshield. You can hear the engine ticking as it cools down. He's holding his phone in one hand, looking at it like he's not sure he wants to record this. But then he starts talking anyway. He says, "I'm gonna tell you something I don't tell people. And I don't know why I'm telling you. Maybe because you're a camera and cameras don't judge. Or maybe because I'm tired of keeping it to myself." He takes a breath, looks out the window, looks back at the phone. He says, "I love this town because this town saved my marriage." And right there, I sat up straighter. Because that's personal. That's real. That's not a joke. That's not a bit. That's a man telling you something that matters. He says, "You don't hear about that, do you? You hear about the money I walked away from. You hear about the Netflix deals and the controversies and the specials. You don't hear about my marriage. You don't hear about how fame almost destroyed it. How being Dave Chappelle the icon almost cost me my wife. My actual wife. The woman who knew me before any of it. He looks down at his hands. He's not wearing any rings that I can see. But the way he talks, you can feel the weight of the ring that's not there. Or maybe it's there, and I just can't see it. He says, when I was in LA, at the height of all that madness, I wasn't a husband anymore. I was a brand. I was a product. I was a thing that people wanted to be around because being around me made them look good. And my wife, she saw it happening. She saw me disappearing, and she tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. Because when you're famous, you think you know everything. You think you're special. You think the rules don't apply to you. He laughs, but it's not a happy laugh. It's a sad one. The kind of laugh that comes after you've learned something the hard way. He says, I was a jerk. I was a terrible husband. I was never home. And when I was home, I wasn't really there. I was on the phone. I was on the computer. I was thinking about the next show, the next deal, the next thing. And she was just there, holding everything together, raising our kids, keeping our house from falling apart. And I didn't even notice. He pauses, rubs his face with his hand. You can see the tiredness in him, not just physical tiredness, soul tiredness. He says, so when I walked away from the show, when I left LA and came back here, a lot of people thought I did it for myself, for my sanity, for my peace. And that's true, but I also did it for her. I did it because she was about to leave me, and I don't blame her. I would have left me too. He looks out the window again, at the trees, at the quiet. He says, coming back here was the only way to save us. Because this town doesn't care about Dave Chappelle the comedian. This town cares about Dave the husband, Dave the father, Dave the guy who needs to take out the trash and fix the leaky faucet and show up for dinner on time. And that's what she needed. She needed me to be a person again, not a persona, not a punchline, just a person. He starts the car, pulls out of wherever he's parked. He's driving now, slow, down a road you can't really see because the camera is shaky, but you can hear the sounds, the crunch of gravel, the wind through the open window. He says, I'm gonna drive you around, show you some things. Not the famous things, not the things tourists would care about. The things that matter to me, to us. He points out the window. There's a field, big and green, a fence around it, some horses in the distance. He says, that field, I used to take her there when we were first dating, before the fame, before the money, when we were just two kids trying to figure out life. We'd sit on that fence and talk for hours, about nothing, about everything, about what we wanted, about who we wanted to be. And I remember she looked at me one time and said, I don't care if you're famous. I don't care if you're rich. I just want you to be happy. And I believed her. I still believe her. She's the only person who ever said that and meant it. He keeps driving, turns down a smaller road, pulls over again, stops the car, points at a small house, blue, with a porch and a swing and flowers in pots. He says that's where we lived when we first moved back, before we bought the big house. It was small, too small for a family, honestly. But we didn't care, because we were together. For the first time in years, we were really together. Not in the same house while I was on the phone. Actually together. Eating dinner at the same table. Watching TV on the same couch. Falling asleep in the same bed at the same time. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong. We had to learn how to be married again. How to talk to each other again. How to fight without it becoming a disaster. But we did it. We did it because we had to. Because the alternative was losing each other. And neither of us wanted that. He sits back in his seat. Looks at the house. You can see the emotion on his face. He's not trying to hide it. He says, this town gave us that. It gave us space. It gave us quiet. It gave us a chance to breathe. In LA, everything was loud. Everything was fast. Everything was about the next thing. But here, things move slow. Here you have time to think, time to feel, time to remember why you fell in love in the first place. He starts driving again, slower now. like he's not in a hurry to get anywhere. He says, "You know what else I love about this town? The silence. Not the kind of silence that feels empty. The kind of silence that feels full. The kind of silence where you can hear yourself think, where you can hear your own heartbeat, where you can hear the person next to you breathing. And you realize, in that silence, that you're not alone, that you have someone, that you have a life, that you have something worth protecting." He pulls into a driveway, stops the car, turns off the engine. The camera shakes as he butts out. Now he's walking, up a path, toward a house. His house, probably. You can see lights on inside. Warm light, yellow light, the kind of light that makes you feel welcome. He stops at the front door, doesn't go in yet, just stands there, looking at the door. Or giving thanks. He says, "Every night, before I go inside, I stand here for a minute, just to remind myself how lucky I am, that I have a home, that I have a family, that I have a wife who stayed, who didn't give up on me, who believed that I could be better. And every night, I promise myself that I'll be the man she deserves, that I'll show up, that I'll be present, that I won't let the fame take me away again." He reaches for the door, but he stops, turns back to the camera. He says, "I'm not telling you this because I want you to feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because I want you to know that fame isn't what you think it is. It's not all red carpets and private jets. It's lonely. It's isolating. It makes you forget who you are and who loves you. And if you don't have something to hold on to, something real, something that doesn't care about your name or your money, you'll lose yourself. You'll become the mask, and you might never find your way back." He opens the door. You can hear voices inside, kids laughing, a woman's voice calling out, something about dinner, something about washing hands. He smiles, that real smile again, the one that reaches his eyes. He says, "That's her, that's my wife. That's the reason I came back. That's the reason I stay. Not for the town, not for the quiet. For her, for them, for this." He steps inside. The camera goes dark for a second, and then the video ends, and I'm just sitting here, in my quiet house, in my quiet room, thinking about what he said, about showing up, about being present, about not letting the noise of the world take you away from the people who matter. I think about my own life, about how often I'm on my phone when someone is talking to me, about how often I'm thinking about tomorrow when I should be paying attention to today, about how often I forget to just stand at the door for a minute and say thank you. Dave Chappelle learned that lesson. He learned it the hard way. He almost lost his marriage. He almost lost himself. And then he came here, to this town, to this quiet, to this door, and he decided to stay, to fight, to be better. That's why he loves this town. Not because of the diner, or the library, or the church. Because this town gave him a second chance. A chance to be a husband. A chance to be a father. A chance to be a person. And now I'm thinking about second chances. About how rare they are. About how most people don't get them. About how Dave Chappelle got one, and he used it. He didn't waste it. He didn't take it for granted. He built a life around it. That's the video. That's the commentary. That's what's been running through my head for the past however long. And now, I think I'll close my laptop. For real this time. And maybe I'll stand at my own door for a minute before I go to sleep. Just to say thank you. Just to remind myself how lucky I am. Because you never know. You never know what you have until it's almost gone.